Hey everybody, welcome to the Safe Prep Show Part 2 with Scott Prepper Talk Radio, picking up where we left off talking about PrepperCon. Then we'll get into Scott's current passion project, the Ready Summit. Then we'll get into some preparedness tips and tricks to help your own family prepare. As always, thanks for being here. Enjoy the show. Be sure you like and subscribe. Check that description for my links and Scott's links.
And so there was kind of a falling out, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I asked God, I'm like, God, I don't know if I can do this. And he goes, yeah, you're done. I'm like, wait, I'm like, wait, no, you're done. And that was right before that last PrepperCon. And so then at the PrepperCon, for my last time at PrepperCon, I'm like, we're closing down. We're finished up. Like some people just walked out and they're like, thank you so much for putting this on. Like we have come every year and this has been the most life-changing event for us. We've learned so much. The classes are always filled with fantastic information, like foraging, like everything. And it was awesome. So they were leaving. And after I heard that like glowing recommendation, I'm like, okay, I'll do it one more time. And then I audibly heard, you're finished. You're done. And I cried. I wept. Yeah. I was like, oh, like, shut it down? No response. And so I prayerfully went to the Lord. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, resign. You're good. You did what I asked you to do. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what do I do now? So since then, it's been 4 years. I'm like running around like a chicken. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I was Mr. PrepperCon, and I'm like, what do I do now? Oh, how do I help people? And there was even a season where I was kind of angry at prepping because I felt like I lost my identity when I shut that down. And I was like, I'm not going to help people. And I'm like, it's too hard for me to not help people.
It is a struggle because I think there's just in general when it comes to putting on events or being on social media is what people see and what we experience is different. And while it may appear to be a successful endeavor, there's a lot of failure and a lot of self-criticism that we give ourselves. And it's tough. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of time.
Your biggest critic is yourself, right? And every weakness we have, like as a person, if somebody says anything about that and we read that comment, it's like,
yup.
And we're like, oh yes, I am terrible. I'm like, and so we're fighting our own insecurities, just putting ourselves out there. You know, imagine putting everything you have. Like I liquidated my retirement to put on the first PrepperCon. Everything. 401ks, IRAs are all gone now. Like to put all that on. Thankfully, we got that money back and we used that to get further along in prepping. But like what I learned in that whole process, which was kind of the weird aha, was that you can get paid to prep. Like I was making money and I was getting tons of product from people that are like, hey, try my product out. Tell me what you think. They didn't even want me to do an online review. They're just sending me product. Hey, go take a look at this. Tell me what you think. Is it good? Is it bad? What do we need to fix? And I'm like, okay. And so I've been able to do like a whole bunch of different things consulting wise, you know, off and on the last few years but I've got all this cool gear that I got for free and I got paid along the way for doing different things. And so, you know, since then I've tried to do some more stuff to help people and I've consulted on some other expos and I've always like, the hard thing is I do those for free.
Yep.
Because it's hard for me to be like, yeah, pay me money for helping people get prepared. It's part of my mission. When I started PrepperCon, I did 30 interviews. That's a lot of interviews in 2 months preceding the event. I was on the local news. I was on I was on podcasts. I was on radio station interviews. I think it was a total of 37 total interviews, but I just always remember at least 30 interviews. Well, as a result of that, one of the stations that I did a lot of interviews on is like, you need to come and do your own show. And I'm like, what? Like, you explain this in such a good way that people want to hear more from you. Like, we had listeners, bring him back. And I was talking about my event. I wasn't even talking about preparing yet. I was talking about coming to the event and what we're going to have there. And they're like, he's so excited about it. And he's so passionate about it. Like,
Passion.
Have him come back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. They're like, no, come to a show. And I'm like, I'm like, that's a huge time commitment.
Yeah.
But I ended up starting Prepper Talk Radio, and it was on air once a week for an hour. And we switched from Fridays to then Wednesdays in the afternoon, then to mornings. Like, they'd fit us in wherever they needed us to fit. And we were like, okay. But I had one condition. I'm like, I'm not going to do this without Shane. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I won't do this. If he says yes, I'll do it. If he says no, we're not doing it. Because like everybody has like their own version of Burt Gummer in their life. He's my Burt Gummer. And for those of you who don't know who Burt Gummer is, go watch Tremors, the first one. The rest of them are crazy. The first one, you really get an understanding of who Burt Gummer is. He's like the world-class best prepper in the world type guy, right? Shane's my Burt Gummer. And I'm like, I've got the passion, he's got the knowledge. Well, I've learned I've also got the knowledge. And we started it out. I mean, we took a little break when my son was born, almost 4 years ago. Took a break for a couple of years and started up again as a podcast. But we were on air for 3 years. Dude, it was weird. Getting callers calling in, like doing breaks so that you could do the news popping in or radio ads popping in. So like just the timing. Okay, 3 seconds. We gotta let me hurry and figure my transition out. And dude, it was a mess. If you listen to some of the original podcasts, they're all up on YouTube and stuff. If you listen to the originals, you'll see we were clueless on how radio worked, and we're like, and we got better. Podcasting is way more fun, but because you can pause and you can edit out the really bad things.
Oh God, thank God for editing.
Super flubs can be gone. But it turned into like I started doing that, and I had the expo, and I was still trying to do my real estate. And then when God's like, "You're done," I was like, "Oh, okay." And a few years ago, I was just like, I need to help more people again, and I didn't know how or what. And this last year, they're like, "Let's do the podcast again." I'm like, "What?" And then I just hit, yeah, you need to do that. So I started again. We relaunched. And I was like, well, I might as well do some social media to help back it up. Little did I know I was going to meet you and all the other fantastic creators on TikTok and be like, wow, there's this cool community. And I'm like, all these people are like, oh my gosh. Like, I see comments on your posts, on Gestures, on Texas Prep Mom, like that I see everybody's preppers make. It's like and these comments are thank you. Wow, I didn't know you could do it was that easy to do that. Or wait, well, how do I take the next steps? And like we all have like different things we recommend, different products, and they all serve the same purposes. We just have preferences that we might like something better, or we've seen the results of a test that make more sense to us. Mm-hmm. And we all live in different areas, and so it's like what works better where you live doesn't necessarily work as well for me because I get to deal with 18 inches of snow outside.
Yeah.
Right. And so we all have different things where we specialize or focus on. And that's kind of the cool thing about prepping is like everyone has something that they like fixate on a little bit more.
Yep.
My biggest like, oh crap is like cyber attack and EMP. Like, I think those are the two like most disastrous things that can happen because most people don't have more than a 3-day supply of food in their whole home.
Another reason I like the Going Home series is it kind of it's like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine that scenario, you can plan for everything underneath that scenario, which is pretty much
everything else. Like if you focus on one major disaster and prep for that, like you can literally do a checklist of all the other disasters and put it under there and you're covered.
Yep.
You're covered. It's like, oh, I don't have to worry about everything. Pick one, pick the thing that worries you the most, prep for it, take away all that fear.
Oh, yes.
Focus on skills first. Focus on knowledge first, right? But if you need to like focus on gear, get food, get water, right? Food psychologically is one of the first things I tell people to focus on because if you've got food, you're not worrying about food. You can focus on what really matters, which is water, getting a water replacement resource, having your shelter. Like the emergency rule of 3 tells us we need to have shelter first, then water, then food. But psychologically, people can't handle that.
And
Well,
I tell folks that
a
have
lot
been
of them.
prepping for a long time, if you hit a hiccup and you get stuck, go back to buying food, go back to
Yeah.
putting water away. As long as you're making some progress. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything taking the fear away. And that's what I love about our circle,
Yeah.
because we don't lead with the fear, even though the fear, that's that entertainment portion that helps a lot
Mm-hmm.
of creators get super big. But I can't go down that road, and you can't either.
I'd rather be small and helpful
Yep.
than big and fearful. That's it. Like there's so like you see like you've got what close to 100,000 followers
I wish.
probably.
I'm stuck at 76.8, but I'm
Okay.
grateful for every one of them.
But like that's 76,000 people that have been impacted with practical and humorous preparedness tips, right? And then you see ones that are like I got 150,000 followers or 300,000 followers, guys that are like pushing fear. And I'm like, when someone's pushing fear a lot, here's a tip. If you hear someone pushing fear a lot, they're selling you a product.
Boo! Hey, I'm Safe Prep. If you really want to survive the apocalypse, then you better get you some of these Safe Prep emergency honey buns. Available now for a limited time for only $2.99.
Fear sells.
Mm-hmm.
Fear sells. If you're pushing fear, it's because you're selling a product. And I don't like to work with those guys.
Yep.
And I don't use those tactics because it doesn't make sense. My goal is to help people get enabled with the right knowledge and mindset. That I focus on the knowledge and mindset first, because if you know how to prioritize things and you have the skills, like I could go out and survive most disasters now with very few items, whereas 20, 30 years ago, I couldn't have survived as well, right? And it's not because it's 20, 30 years later. It's I've accumulated a lot of knowledge, and it took me a while to figure that out.
Yep.
And so I try to teach people to do is focus on the knowledge first, because that can overcome a lot of the other things. Like this is one of my most like prized possessions in prep. This book is seriously, get the Boy Scout of America handbook. If you can get like the original ones, the old ones, they have they're way better. But if you can get the spiral bound one, so you can go like this and not break your book, like these, they're fantastic. But like, I just happened to turn open to one that says how to be prepared for hazardous weather, like tornadoes and hurricanes. Like it gives you so many good tips. It shows you how to do navigation, orientation, figuring out where you are and where you're going, how to get there, right? This is the most all-encompassing book for preparedness, for living life, right? Being
There are so
self-aware.
so many reasons this feels overwhelming to folks. One, you've got all the subcategories.
Yep.
Two, if you're learning this on social media, you probably got 20 or 30 creators all throwing their viewpoint at you, some with fear,
Yeah.
some with not. And in order to be good at this, you do have to learn how to plan, I think. And a lot of people just, when they think of prepping, they think of stuff. And that having a good book or having a few creators that you really, really trust that are giving you the simple steps you need to get started and continually make progress is good. You can't do everything everybody tells you to do.
Yep.
Every book is not going to be good for you, but I'm sure, Scott, you've got a huge prep library like all of us do. You know what I mean?
Everything over there is prepping. Like everything in that bookcase is prepping.
Like I'm in the end of preparedness where I've got to figure out a way to transport all my books should the poop hit the fan. It's like I don't want to leave any of my books behind. I'm gonna need them with me.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't either. Like I'm preparing to shelter in place, but a lot of people worry about like civil unrest and like everything going to crap, right? Yeah, that's going to happen. Like especially if you're a biblical prepper.
Yep.
Like we're like if you've read Isaiah or Revelation or Daniel and you prep with that mindset, like yeah, it's going to get bad, but you got to remember it's like it's going to get worse for the wicked. So repent, get on track, get right with God so he can direct you, so you can hear what he's trying to tell you so that you can be safe. Like, so that the
I
destroying
dealt
angels
with a
can't
lot
pass.
of. I've only when we started our account, I'm a man of God. Um, I'm a Christian. I'm proud of it. And but when I started my account, like God has told you certain things. God told me certain things. He said, let's
Mm-hmm.
keep religion out of it. Let's keep politics out of it. Let's keep
Yep.
conspiracy out of it. That was kind of where
Yep.
Safe Prep was going. And a few times I've come out, and it seems TikTok don't like those kind of videos, but I've had a whole lot of people of faith pop in and be like, no, all you need is Jesus. And I'm like, y'all wasting a whole lot of brain. Y'all
Well, even
he
Jesus
gave
has
me a
told us, like,
brain. He gave me a gut. He gave me logic. He gives me
mm-hmm,
knowledge. And I choose to use those things, not because
exactly.
I'm scared, but because I, I would like a sandwich on the way to the rapture.
Well, all these blessings that you've been given in knowledge and wisdom, right? You would prove yourself an unprofitable servant or a foolish servant if you didn't use them.
Yep.
And I hear a lot of people like, oh, just pray and you're fine. I'm like, when in history of scripture, in the history of creation, has it ever just been pray and you're fine? Noah built a freaking ark
Yep.
after praying and the Lord saying it's not going to be fine. Build an ark, right? Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream and they're like, oh, you're going to have 7 good years and 7 bad years.
Better put it
Plan for it.
away. Yeah.
Put it away, because those 7 bad years are going to be the worst bad years you've ever seen. And it's like, oh. And how did they do during those 7 bad years? They did pretty good.
Yeah.
The rest of the world didn't do so hot, but they did okay. And that's why we prep, not because we're scared, but because there's a pattern in the world of good and bad. Like it just happens. It's this economic cycle, right? You've got your good, prosperous, and you've got your bad, devastatingly financial situations, right? The thing I tell people to prep for the most is losing a job, losing a loved one, or becoming disabled. If you can prep for those 3 things, that's going to be the most all-encompassing best plan you've got, because you'll have food storage, you'll have some money saved up, you'll have some resources to take care of those things when they hit. If they hit. Hopefully they don't hit. Hopefully, we're all going to deal with death and loss, right? Almost all of us deal with job loss. I've got a couple uncles that never did. Like, one of them worked for the same company his entire career till he retired. And I'm like, how did you do that? I'm like, what? And then there's me that I'm like, I've been on so many different freaking jobs. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right? I'm a delivery driver right now. And I coach people on preparedness after hours.
So you did PrepperCon.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you do some consulting work.
Yeah.
Tell us about Ready Summit.
Well, Ready Summit's kind of a passion project. It is. Go back and remember that, like most events people do, they're going broke on, right? And they're putting their heart into it. I did this event because it's a lot cheaper to do everything digital and online than to spend $35,000 to book the venue that I did for PrepperCon, right? And if people share it, then more people can get better prepared. And so we do a yearly membership where it's $150. You get access to the entire library, and it's curated content. It's not YouTube, where you can have 1,000 people creating content to just be like, hey, here's what I learned today. These are the experts that I go to for the right information. I've got guys like Cache Valley Prepper, who's doing a course for me right now that's going to go on soon. It'll probably be live by the time you guys listen to this, on EMPs and how to prepare and harden everything. I've got classes on solar, whole home versus just small solutions. I've got a class on hygiene, which I think is one of the most overlooked areas of prep. Like it's on its way, and I'm like, please, Sue, get it here as quick as you can. And she's working on it right now, but she's been teaching this class for 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not this exciting, sexy thing in prep. Like, well, I got this cool tactical bag. Let's go. Hoorah. Let's kill some zombies. Right. But it's like that cut on your finger, if not properly maintained, could kill you. You could get septicemia and be dead.
Yep.
Right? Understanding how to deal with hypothermia, like those little things are the things that make the biggest difference. And so, like, the library is growing, the content's growing. We've got kind of your basic planning from A to Z, how to plan, how to inventory and keep track of what you have, so you know what you have, so you're not spending money on something twice. Right? The worst thing you could do is buy something that's expiring and buying something else to replace it that's expiring the same time. Right? Like, stagger it out. Right? Don't waste your money on something that doesn't work, or don't buy products that are gimmicky. I hate multi-tool purpose stuff, except for like your Victronox, your Swiss Army, or your Gerber, like multi-tool plier systems that you put in your pocket. Like anything past that, like when you start thinking multi-tool, this will kill a zombie, purify your water, build a fort for you. Like when you start getting into that stuff, you're like, that's a gimmick.
Yep.
And when you try to use it, you'll realize it's not good for any one of those things by itself.
Yep.
Therefore, it's not good for all of them. If you need a hammer, get a hammer. If you need a saw, get a saw. Like, get the right tool for the job. With Ready Summit, with PrepperCon, with everything, it's like I want to appeal to the experts and the brand new people at the same time, and save you time. Like, if you have the right information, like even as a seasoned vet in prepping, right? Seasoned vet, I get it wrong sometimes. So I like to go back to the experts who focus on that area to get it right. And if we can do that all the time, vis-a-vis like Ready Summit, vis-a-vis, there's other events that you can go to. The downside of the Ready Summit is you're not getting that personal interaction with people. The upside is after the event, everything's archived and you can go back to it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So like, I think I've got like 8 courses on there, going up to 13 next week. It's continually growing and we're adding more stuff. And so when you have a question on something, you can go back to it. You can download the notes, you can download the content, you can message inside the platform to ask questions to other people. If we get it big enough, I can convert it to an app. I have that functionality built in, but it's a tool to help people get better prepared. And it's all the smart stuff. Like, one of the biggest things in there is understanding food storage, what works to store long-term versus what doesn't, what type of packaging will do what. We have a course that explains all that. I have a course on canning from one of my favorite canners, Prepstetter. She's phenomenal. Like, Sydney is amazing. I'm not a good canner. Like, I want to get some classes in there on processing animals, so you understand what to do, how to do it, and then how to smoke food and other different ways of preserving food. Like, there's so many things that you can do. It's overwhelming to learn it all, or to think you have to learn it all today. But if you put together a plan and say, okay, we're gonna focus this month on this, let's knock that out. Or if you're like me and you're ADHD,
This is a good podcast. I should go vacuum.
it's like, okay, for the next 90 minutes, I'm going to focus on this, and that will turn into 2 days, and you'll have it. And then you'll forget for the next month. Be like, oh yeah, let me go back to that. And like, for me, it's hard because it's like, I'm so ADHD squirrel, right? Like, I can completely be all in for a month or a minute.
And I think that may be one reason I like preparedness, is because there's so many areas you can go into. You get bored in one and kind of get ready in that area, and then you're like, oh, I've got a big gaping hole over here. I'm gonna go work on this for a little while and learn some stuff and buy some stuff. And there's always somewhere to go, because you're never going to know it all, and
True.
Nobody's situation is the same, and there's 100 different ways to do things. And I think that's one reason. Probably it's just so many subcategories. I love it. Right? I love it.
Like, there's the wilderness survival, there's homesteading, there's gardening. I mean, and there's different types of gardening. You can garden outside in the ground. There's the till people. There's the raised bed people. There's the aquaponics and hydroponics, and then the towers and the grow lights and the million different ways you can garden. Right. And then you've got, I mean, you can really go anywhere.
If you can if you don't be overwhelmed by the 11 ways you can do something, be grateful and be excited about it, and know that somebody has figured out you really don't have to reinvent the wheel in preparedness. Somebody out there somewhere, and one of them's probably on social media trying to teach, has had your problem and has solved it and has figured out the cheapest, quickest way to do that. You just got to find them.
And that's the hard part. It takes time to find them. But when you do, bookmark it, download it, like save it. Like, what do I here? This is the tip of all tips. Like, get yourself a hard drive and disconnect it from your computer when you're not using it, and put it in a Faraday cage when you're not using it. When you find videos that you're like, whoa, this is super helpful, especially on YouTube, any platform, you've got downloader tools. You can go Google, like, how do I download this YouTube video? You take the URL, paste it into that system, it downloads it. You download it, you put it in a file folder, you pull your hard drive out, you connect it to your computer, and then you drag all those over, and then you put it back away, and you bookmark all the ones you love. So now you've got your bookmarks for all the ones that you want to go back and restudy. But then if something crappy does happen, you should have a hard drive and a backup laptop in a Faraday cage. You can pull it back up and like, okay, how do I learn how to do this again? Okay, I remember okay, if I'm going to plant a garden and the way I wanted to do it was this way, oh, there's video for that. Okay, done. Okay, now first aid wise, take a training class, take the course.
Hands-on, absolutely. Like, my advice too. Mm-hmm.
But like, so much of prepping you can learn from reading or from watching videos. But when it comes to like saving someone's life, hands-on classes. Like,
absolutely.
I cannot say enough about hands-on classes. It's so much more valuable to actually be doing it and have someone tell you, no, what you just did there would kill someone. So thank you for trying. Let's do it this way. Let's fix what you're doing so that they can live. And you're like, oh,
absolutely.
Wait, so don't suffocate? Yeah, don't suffocate. Like,
right.
Okay. So okay. Yeah, I got it. Like, but what is this? What is this? Why does it look black and green? It's gangrenous. That means that limb's going to come off. Like, oh, so don't leave it alone. Like there's, you have to learn those things in
I feel like I feel like so many people are scared and overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, if you can get into this and treat it like a hobby that might just save your life or make you a little more comfortable one day, it's much more enjoyable. I tell people on my account, about every 6 months, I get on there and say, that real gimmicky preparedness you've been wanting to buy that might not save your life, but it's really cool and you'd love off and you'd be proud to have it. Go buy it today. You just come at this from a dude standpoint. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
And you're learning cool stuff and you're doing something not a lot of other people are doing. You get to have cool gear. You get to learn new skills. And if you can get in this and enjoy it, man, it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's so I think the biggest gaps are an understanding of that, the understanding that I don't have to do it all. That's, I think, the biggest gap of like why people don't really do it. Number one, if you can go through your house and itemize where's my water, what water sources do I have, and itemize what foods you have, you're going to realize, and I have a free calculator that can help you do that and show you how long you'll survive with what you have. If you go to preppertalkradio.com, you can download those. But like, you try that. This is the coolest thing. Like, you try that and you'll be like, oh, I can last 90 days. Oh, I can last 3 days. Oh, I can last 6.2 years. What? 6.2 years? Like, you put it all in there and figure out how many people you have, how many calories they need a day. It'll tell you what it is. And it's like, once you see that, like once you've done that initial inventory, a lot of people come back to me and go, I'm more prepared than I realized.
Yep. Give yourself credit.
Yes,
celebrate your progress.
Yeah.
You've got to do that. You've got to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
You've got to set goals that you can get to. And once you get to those small goals, guys, that's when you can set a bigger goal, but you got to celebrate your progress.
Yep. Absolutely. And reward yourself with something prep too. Like that gimmicky thing that you just talked about. Like, if there's something that you're like, oh man, I really want that. Like, okay, that's a good reward. Like, yep. I've got so many different versions of these. I wanted some new headlamps. So I rewarded myself with a 2-pack.
Yeah, I remember you doing the Wii U. I remember the video.
Oh yeah. This one it's got the red lights. And it's got I'm a policeman. I still need to go chase my kids around and be like, pull over. Right? Like, This is awesome. But like, it's great for like riding your bike and doing stuff at night. But it also as a delivery driver, like it gets dark early, so I use these all the time, and they're rechargeable. Like stuff that has more than one purpose. It's not just a prepping purpose. Like reward yourself with that stuff. Like reward yourself with learning how to cook. If you don't cook well and you want to learn how to cook better, like reward yourself with skill stuff, with experiences. Like I can't say enough good things about celebrate every little victory and reward yourself. Like when crap's gone sideways, one of my little rewards is I will break out a Mountain House freeze-dried ice cream bar. Because I have them.
Let's get into it.
I bought them as a reward to reward myself when I'm struggling. My parents have a freeze dryer. I've got a shared harvest right with my in-laws, but I never get to get down there and use it. But I'm like, I'm going to go get a whole bunch of my favorite ice cream bars and freeze dry them one of these days and just have a stash. If you've ever had a Fat Boy ice cream bar, oh man. Fat Boy, I think, does the best ice cream sandwich that I've ever had. And so I'm like, shoot, if I have those freeze dried, I will be praying for the apocalypse. Like,
So Mini Haven Homestead, Meg, one of my good buddies here on TikTok,
Oh, yeah.
has been with me since the beginning. She came and visited a couple of months ago, and of course we
Meg.
talked about prepping just constantly the whole 2 or 3 days she was here. And when she left and got back home, she mailed us the silicone inserts for our dehydrator,
Yeah.
where you can do candies and fruits and stuff.
Make sure
Uh-huh.
the ceiling fan
And she
won't-
actually brought us some freeze dried, like freeze dried Skittles and some other candy goodies. I was like, this is so fun. Just imagine in a post-apocalyptic world, and you ain't had chocolate or sweets in 6 months, and come across some Skittles that are still tasty.
and with kids, you've got to have that stuff. Like, it's good to have it for us as adults. Like, but with kids, I hear, I want candy all the time. Well, if the apocalypse happens tomorrow, will you have candy in 6 months? Most people won't. But if you've got some freeze-dried candy set aside, you might. You know, learning how to preserve food and get different things that'll last longer, like it's so helpful. And it eliminates a lot of fear. I love Mini Haven. She actually helped me. Meg actually helped me with my garden this year.
Dude,
It was my first year doing a garden again.
love her.
She is fantastic. Like I'd say, hey, here's the problem I'm having. And she's like, oh, here's what you need to do. And I'm like, every time, spot on. I try it and it works.
She's just and start crying. Is what's going to happen. She's like,
I know.
oh, the boys are talking about me.
She's the best. She's so sweet. And she's just genuine and helpful. And it's like, that's one of the things I love about the
And
group I'm a part of.
we can want to say, we both probably have the same opinion of most of the social media platforms, one in particular, but the relationships, the
Mhm.
strong personal relationships through our social media connections is absolutely amazing. I would not have met you. I would not have met Jester.
Have you heard of It's Doomsday Podcast? Hello, my name is Jester, host of It's Doomsday Podcast. Are you worried about the state of the world? Do you want to get prepared but don't know where to start? On It's Doomsday Podcast, we cover survival, disaster preparedness, government, world events, and the occasional conspiracy. Available on all major platforms, let It's Doomsday Podcast be your guide to doomsday prepping. And make sure to follow so you never miss an episode.
Mini.
Well, the funniest
these
thing about
folks.
us meeting is the first time I saw one of your videos, I was like,
I remember the comment. I remember the first or the
I was
message
like-
you sent me.
I sent you a message. I'm like, did you come to PrepperCon? Because there was a guy that had a logo similar to yours.
Yeah.
I had the same look as you. And I'm like, dude, I swear. And it's not you. But I'm like, I like you better than that guy anyways. But
I
I'm
took
like, this is
him out
awesome.
and stole his logo. That's what happened.
You know, I don't even like, it was something similar, but
Yeah.
yours is crisp. Like you've always got like really good design, like whoever you're paying to do your logos and stuff. It's really,
I just like to look like I know what I'm doing.
oh, you win that contest. Yeah, like PrepperCon, I did the logo for that. And then I sent it to a professional. He like made it look good.
Yeah.
Prepper Talk Radio, I did the logo for that. I didn't send it to a professional to make it look good. I should have.
You mentioned earlier kids, and I've told folks like, you really want to look at prepare. I don't want to complicate it anymore, but if you have a family, you can't only look at preparedness from looking at yourself standpoint. You got to look at your kids and look at what their situations and needs would be. You got to look at your spouse, people in your household that maybe have disabilities or health conditions, and try to put that into your plan and plan for everybody that's going to be in your circle. What do you have to say on kids and family members?
Oh man. Activity books, food that they love, and activity books, paper and color and crayons and colored pencils, like as much of that as you can get from the dollar store, the better. Like you don't have to spend a lot of money, like $20 at the dollar store. You'll keep your kids busy for a couple of weeks. Like if you buy activity books, coloring books, paper, crayons, like especially the small kids, like the bigger kids, if the Wi-Fi goes off, they're panicked and the world is over. Right. But like your little kids, if they lose the Kindle, they're like, no big deal. No big deal. Like, I'll get toys. Let's go play. But like have some of that in your bags. Like if you've got to evacuate, that's the worst. Is like if you have to evacuate and go somewhere else, take some toys with you. Have some toys in the car. Like have them
there because you'll forget them otherwise, right?
Yeah. And have a checklist. Like if you haven't already pre-packed stuff for an evacuation, that's what your go bags are for. Your bug out bag, your 72-hour kit, like whatever you want to call it. Leave it in the car or in a staging area where you can grab it and go. Like if it doesn't fit in the car all the time, right? I've got bags for everybody in the family. Everybody has a bag. It doesn't make sense to always have all those bags in the car, but we have a bag in the car for car issues and then a bag in the car for getting home for one person. Well, it's really for two people. But like if most of the time that's me because I travel the farthest. Yeah. My wife and kids are like down the street or one city over. I could be like 80 miles away and be like, all right, we're footing it. And so like one of the biggest things for me right now is footwear and training. Like I try to get 5 to 10 miles a day on my feet. And as long as I'm continually doing that, I'm getting in better and better shape. I know that I'm capable of making that hike home. Like, and if you can't make that hike home, you need more gear, and you're going to have to shelter in place where you are, and you're going to need radios or whatever. So people need to just take a minute and look at their capabilities and look at their stuff and recognize what can I take care of. Well, some people like, okay, you also look at your situation. It's like, does a roller bag work? Like, especially for the elderly, or if you've got someone who has special needs, or you've got a small child, like a roller bag is a good solution because you can pack a little more weight and you just drag it along behind you. Right. But make sure it's durable. It's got good wheels. It's got amazing reviews. And that's what the pilots and everyone that's always traveling is using, right? Because it's going to have a lot of miles on it. And I used to bag on them. I used to be like, no, get a backpack. Well, I've evolved a little bit. I'm like, with kids, yeah, roller pack's great. Because worst case, like they can ride it like a horse too. And I'm dragging the kid and the gear. Yep. Right. As they're getting bigger, I have to worry less about that. But like for me, I always have a backpack with a waist strap. Because I don't want all that gear weight on my shoulders. That's tiring. It wears you out faster. If you put the weight on your hips, you last longer. I mean, doing 50 milers in the mountains with a 30-pound pack without a waist strap, miserable. With a waist strap, tolerable.
Guys, if you have a bag, we're not telling you that you have to put that bag on and go walk through your entire subdivision. Put the backpack on and just start walking around in your backyard and do that for a while. Let the kids play in the yard. And I'm telling you what, it's not going to take long for you to realize my back's already hurting. Or this thing's too heavy. But if you don't get out and try that, guys, you're not going to know it's too heavy.
And also like learning how to pack a bag. Like if you want to learn how to pack a bag, throw everything in there and walk around. You'll realize that you want to put everything that's heavy close to your body, into the small of your back if you can, or up above your shoulders, so that everything's balanced upright. I went on a camp out when I was a kid. It was a supposed to be a 30 miler. It turned into a 50 miler. And I had the dumbest idea in the world. I brought a raft. I won this raft in a contest. And so I'm like, I'm taking it. We're going to be at a lake. I'm taking it. We're hiking to a lake 15 miles away. And granted, I was 14. Should have known better. But I hiked the whole thing. I hiked the dang thing all the way in my backpack. So I had an extra 20 pounds. So I'm hiking. I've got a 40-pound plus pack going to this stupid place. And my friends are like, let's go this way. Let's go. And we got lost. We got separated from our troop. And we got lost. Why? Because we're stupid. Everybody can be stupid. It's how we recover from stupid that makes us make or break everything, right? I had to pack that whole thing out because you don't leave stuff in the woods.
Yep.
But like, I was giving food away. I was giving extra stuff away just to make everything lighter because who's going to carry that out for me? Nobody but me, this stupid guy. But I learned 5 minutes on the raft in the lake isn't worth 20, 30 hours.
All that pain.
Right? So did I really need it? No. Is it nice to have? Not really. Like, what would have been nicer to have? A bedroll, a little air pad to sleep on, and now I've got those in tons of quantity, right? And they're super lightweight. They're less than a half a pound. So it's like, as you learn and as you practice and you try, like, put your stuff on and go hike up the stairs in your house, or go to the park and walk up a hill. If you feel like the weight's pulling you, it's not a good setup. Like, practice, play with the kids with it on. Like, you'll never know until you actually go try it and practice it. And then you'll realize, oh yeah, this is a little too heavy. What can I get rid of? Let's see. What's in here? I got a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. Okay. Get rid of that. Okay. Well, what about the 2-liter bottle of Coke? We'll get rid of that too. Right. Like, get water. If you want flavor, get some flavor sticks. Like, add little things can go a long way. Like, practice it. That's the best way to know. Like, my kids know fire drills because we practice them. They know how to evacuate the house because we practice them. If we don't practice them and a fire happens, then I have to try to figure out how to save all my kids. Or you, the listener, if you haven't done those things, you have to figure out how to save all your kids. Go through and practice these things now so that it's not a problem then.
Like I said, we get hung up. I don't think we do, but a lot of people get hung up on apocalypse, end of the world, government collapse. Preparedness is so much bigger than that. It is the home fire safety. Yep. It is that type of stuff that statistically is going to happen to you. It's going to be the weather in your area, the natural disasters in your area. It's going to be a house fire in the middle of the night. And one more reason I love my degrees in occupational safety. I love safety and preparedness and stuff. And practicing a home fire safety drill, changing the battery in your smoke detectors, getting rid of old smoke detectors, all that stuff is preparedness, guys. And if you're just getting ready for the big stuff, there's probably some stuff you're missing that is more every day. So we talked about PrepperCon, we talked about the Radio Summit, and we talked about Prepper Talk Radio. Tell people where they can find you and the products and services and education that you have out right now.
So the best place to find me is probably Prepper Talk Radio. That's where I'm at the most. PrepperTalkRadio.com. You can find links to my resources. You can follow us on YouTube, on TikTok, and everywhere else from that. The best resources I've got is the Ready Summit, thereadysummit.com. Training videos and things of that nature. The experts I like to go to. And then if you want to get paid to prep, go to paytoprep.com. I've been prepping for years. I didn't know I could make money doing it until 2015. And then I made a crap ton of money and got a lot of free stuff through prepping. And so now I teach that as well, how to profit off of your prepping. It's a fun little hack I like to use. It saves me time. It saves me money. And it doesn't require a whole lot on your side to do it. So check that out if you're interested in trying to do that. If you've got any kind of following on social media, or if you want to learn how to get a following, just follow us and see what we do, mimic it, copy it. The biggest thing about prepping is we love R&D in the whole prepping world, and not research. and development. Rip off and duplicate. It is someone else has tried it and done it and either failed or succeeded. And if you can just copy it, copy and paste, C&P, copy and paste, rip off and duplicate, R&D. It's the same thing. They want you to do what they're doing because it works. And it's the same thing for us. We want you to do what's worked for us. If it works for you, do it. But yeah, you can follow me on any of those platforms. TikTok, I'm everywhere. It doesn't take much to find me. You could Google my name and PrepperCon and you'll find articles and links. And I've been published all over the world. It's weird. Yeah. I'm like a bad penny. I just show up everywhere.
You wanted to talk about baby steps, which is a favorite subject of mine. So now that we've gotten to know you and what you're about, let's aim it towards two audiences: folks that are just getting started and don't know what to do and are overwhelmed, and folks that have been doing this a while and how baby steps can help all of them.
So I think the most important thing in the whole world of prep is baby steps or baby bites. Just like we talked about, you don't eat the whole buffet at once. You start with a plate, you sit down, and you take a bite at a time. The plate's the topic, right? If you don't know first aid, sign up for a class. That's your plate. You go sit down and you take it bite by bite through the process. If you don't understand water filtration, take it bite by bite. Understand how to filter water. Understand different things, but you got to remember, all of prepping. Like, okay, I need to know first aid. I need to know communications. I need to understand different radios. I can go super deep on everything, but you still, even in all of your education, even at jobs, everything was a little bit at a time. Every training you've ever been through was a bite at a time. Don't think you need to change things to understand prepping and be prepared. Take it a bite at a time. One mouthful, one spoonful. If it's spicy, right? Whatever, like slow down. Like just don't overdo it. That's where people get burnt out or like just quit, right? And I've been there. I've never quit. I've been burnt out at times, right? But it's like even in times when I was angry at prepping, I wasn't angry at prepping. I was angry at people not listening and people not doing things and not taking responsibility. And so the punishment was me not getting better prepared. Like, that's stupid, Scott. It only affected me. And you, the listener, you're like, if you hold a grudge against someone, it's the same thing. It's like, if I've got a grudge against someone, it's like me holding a knife to my neck, telling them to change. They don't care, right? You're only hurting yourself. You're the only one in danger because you have control over that knife. Oh, guys, take it a step at a time. Take a little bit at a time. Baby step it. Like, what about Bob? Like, it's just baby, simplify. Do a little bit today. Maybe a little bit more tomorrow. If that's too much, a little bit today, and a little bit next week on the same day, same time. Set a reminder on your calendar. Okay, for the next 30 minutes on Monday nights at 7 p.m. my time, I'm going to do prepping for 30 minutes, and I'm going to read the next chapter of that book that I have. Or I'm going to inventory my pantry. Or I'm going to go take a small class on this. Or I've bookmarked 6 videos, I'm going to watch 1. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to know it all at once. And even the people like myself and Justin and everyone else that's creating content, we don't know it all. We don't have to. We need to know enough of our interest areas so that we can be beneficial to the people around us. Because I guarantee you there's people around you that are going to be beneficial to you when crap goes sideways. Maybe instead of going on that, $3,000 vacation, you go on a $1,000 vacation and you spend $2,000 and get everything else knocked out. That goes a long ways. Like, maybe instead of steak dinner tonight, have some cereal and put some money aside to go buy 2 extra cans of your favorite food for your pantry. Like, sacrifice brings forth blessings. Simple as that. Sacrifice something that's frivolous to get a little better prepared now. Take the baby step. Take the small mouthful. Like, do something a little bit today to make tomorrow better. To make the inevitable.
Decision that you guys make, whether that's building on your plan or purchasing something that is going to help sustain your family, should take your anxiety level down just a notch because you're
Yeah.
more prepared now than you were before. Celebrate that. Realize you're feeling better about your situation. If you don't celebrate your progress, guys, you lose sight of it.
Yeah.
And that's why Scott said take an inventory of your stuff. You may be fearful because you don't think you have a lot, and then you start doing an inventory, and you're like, we could make it a weekend, we could make it a week, or
Yeah.
we're reaching our goals. Let's keep going.
It's huge. It's funny because like you look at a grocery store, you look at any business and they keep an inventory of everything. Well, it's so they can be profitable. So they don't waste money on things that don't make sense to have, right? They're focused on profits. Well, why don't we live the same way? We've kind of like fallen into this on-demand lifestyle. Well, that's an anxiety-driven life. But if you're living off of value and importance, you're off demand. And your anxiety goes down and your quality of life goes up and your experiences and your communication with your family and your connected time improves your situation. So I think the best thing I can say is preparedness brings peace. And every little bite you take brings more peace and is more filling and more fulfilling than the anxiety of waiting. So take that bite.
What I got out of tonight was salad bar and ice cream.
I like to eat.
Let me just tell you, man, I'm glad I found you.
Ditto.
So I have a feeling you still don't know exactly what he wants you to do or what your entire purpose is, but I
Yep.
can tell you that it is something awesome.
Thank you.
And he will put the moving pieces in place for you, and it will happen. I'm just glad I get to watch and observe and learn, and wish you nothing but success, man. I know you are you doing your podcast tonight?
Yep, that's where I got to get headed out to.
Are you guys live or do y'all record?
We do both. So we do a recording and then we go live for the second segment.
Well, I'm not even going to ask you to come back. I'm just going to tell you to come back. So
I'll be back.
I'll let you know. What are your parting words, my friend, and we'll get out of here.
You know, I think I said it already. I mean, every little bite of preparedness is a tummy full of peace, guys. So take the next bite. Take it small. Take it slow. Enjoy the learning process and enjoy the failures. I failed on a lot of my different preps. Like I've tried something and I realized, hey, that's a bad idea. And you know what? I've learned a ton through that. Learn from the failures and honestly celebrate them, because you learned, like Edison learned 1,000 ways not to do a light bulb, right? You know, before he found the one. Celebrate those because you're getting closer to the right thing every time you try. So just keep trying. Have fun with it.
Guys, be sure you give Scott a follow on TikTok, scott.preppertalkradio, preppertalkradio.com, and check out the Ready Summit for all your preparedness education needs. Scott, thank you for being on the Safe Prep Show, brother. And I look forward to having you back. And it was great talking to you, getting to know you a little bit, man.
Dude, Justin, I gotta come hang out with you. I gotta find a way to get out there.
We may have
time. That would be ideal.
We can make it happen.
Fun. It'll be too much fun.
Nothing but best to you and the family, my friend.
Likewise.
See you,
Have
brother.
an awesome night. Bye.
Growing our circle, making new connections, and helping you and your family get ready. Thank you guys for tuning into the Safe Prep Show. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, stay safe and get prepped.